394.
And it was at that moment that I decided to be the good Hogwarts student that I am and do just that. Turn to page 394. Now, before any of you moaning myrtles call foul, yes, I do know that the first two books do not have 394, so I'll do the next best thing, shall I? I shall read to page 294. Well, grab a cup of tea, my dears, for it's just me and my tea, and today I shall be reading to page 394 of every Harry Potter. That's right, just page 394. Professor Snape never said to read past it, did he? So, let's dive right into it, shall we? Turn to page 394. Body of my own? Now, why don't you give me that stone in your pocket? So he knew, the feeling suddenly surging back into Harry's legs. He stumbled backwards. "Don't be a fool," snarled the face. "Better save your own life and join me, or you'll meet the same end as your parents. They died begging me for mercy." "Liar!" Harry shouted suddenly. Quirrell was walking backwards at him so that Voldemort could still see him. The evil face was now smiling. "How touching," it hissed. "I always value bravery. Yes, boy, your parents were brave. I killed your father first, and he put up a courageous fight. But your mother needn't have died. She was trying to protect you. Now give me the stone, unless you never want her to have died in vain." "Never!" Harry sprang towards the flaming door, but Voldemort screamed, "Seize him!" The next second, Harry felt Quirrell's hand close on his wrist. At once, a needle-sharp pain seared across Harry's scar. His head felt as though it was about to split in two. He yelled, struggling with all his might, and to his surprise, Quirrell let go of him. The pain in his head lessened. He looked around wildly to see where Quirrell had gone, and saw him hunched in pain, looking at his fingers. They were blistering before his eyes. "Seize him! Seize him!" shrieked Voldemort again, and Quirrell lunged, knocking Harry clean off his feet, landing on top of him, both hands around Harry's neck. Harry's scar almost blinding him with pain, yet he could see Quirrell howling in agony. End of page 394. Turn to page 294. "Just the man," he said. "The very man. A girl has been snatched by the monster Lockhart, taken into the chamber itself. Your moment has come at last." Lockhart blanched. "That's right, Gilderoy," clipped Professor Sprout. "Weren't you just saying last night that you've known all along where the entrance to the Chamber of Secrets is?" I, sputtered Lockhart. "Yes, didn't you just tell me that you were sure you knew what was inside it?" pipped Professor Flitwick. Did I? I don't recall. I certainly remember you saying it. You were sorry you hadn't had a crack at the monster before Hagrid was arrested, said Snape. "Didn't you say that the whole affair had been bungled and that you should have been given free reins from the first?" Lockhart stared around at his stony-faced colleagues. I never really... You must have misunderstood. Well, we'll leave it to you then, Gilderoy, said Professor McGonagall. Well, tonight will be an excellent time to do it. We'll make sure everyone is out of your way. You'll be able to tackle the monster all by yourself. A free rein at last. Lockhart gazed desperately around him, but nobody came to the rescue. He didn't look remotely handsome anymore. His lips were trembling, and in the absence of his usually toothy grin, he looked weak-chinned and feebled. Very well, he said. I'll be in my office getting ready. And he left the room. Right, said Professor McGonagall with whose nostrils were flared. End of page 294. Turn to page 394. Dumbledore. 3 turns? What was he talking about? What are we supposed to do? But Hermione was fumbling with the neck of her robes, pulling from beneath it a very long, very fine gold chain. Harry, come here, she said urgently. Quick! Harry moved toward her, completely bewildered. She was holding the chain out. He saw a tiny, sparkling hourglass hanging from it. Here. She had thrown the chain around his neck, too. Ready? She said breathlessly. What are we doing? Harry said, completely lost. Hermione turned the hourglass over 3 times. The dark ward dissolved. Harry had the sensation that he was flying very fast backwards. A blur of colors and shapes rushed past him. His ears were pounding. He tried to yell but couldn't hear his own voice. And then he felt solid ground beneath his feet, and everything came into focus again. He was standing next to Hermione, and in the deserted entrance hall, and a stream of golden sunlight was falling across the paved floor from the open front doors. He looked wildly around at Hermione, the chain of the hourglass cutting into his neck. Hermione? What? In here! Hermione seized Harry's arm and dragged him across the hall into the door of a broom closet. She opened it, pushed him inside among the buckets and mops, and then slammed the door behind them. What? How? Hermione, what happened? End of page 394. Turn to page 394. Well, you better hurry up, mate, or all the good ones will be gone, said Fred. Who are you going with, then? Said Ron. Angelina, said Fred promptly, without a trace of embarrassment. What? Said Ron, taken aback. You've already asked her? Good point, said Fred. He turned his head and called across the common room. Oi, Angelina! Angelina, who had been chatting with Alicia Spinnet near the fire, looked over at him. What? She called back. Well, go to the ball with me? Angelina gave Fred an appraising sort of look. All right, then, she said, and she turned back to Alicia and carried on chatting with a bit of a grin on her face. There you go, said Fred to Harry and Ron. Piece of cake. He got to his feet, yawning, and said, Well, we'd better use a school owl then, George. Come on. They left. Ron stopped feeling his eyebrows and looked across the smoldering wreck of his card castle at Harry. We should get a move on, you know, and ask someone. He's right. We don't want to end up with a pair of trolls. Hermione let out a sputter of indignation. A pair of what? Excuse me? Well, you know, said Ron, shrugging. I'd rather go along than with Eloise McGinn, say. Her acne's loads better lately. She's really nice. Her nose is off-center, said Ron. Oh, I see, Hermione said, bristling. So basically, you're going... End of page 394. Phew. Tea break. Turn to page 394. Sorry, Harry, said George hastily when Harry caught his eye. Couldn't resist. Harry walked around the other pairs, trying to correct those who were doing the spell wrong. Jenny was teamed with Michael Corner. She was doing very well, whereas Michael was either very bad or unwilling to jinx her. Ernie Macmillan was flourishing his wand uncertainly, giving his partner time to get under his guard. The Creevy brothers were enthusiastic but erratic, and mainly responsible for all the books leaping off the shelves around them. Luna Lovegood was similarly patchy, occasionally sending Justin Finch-Fletchley's wand spinning out of his hand, and at other times merely causing his hair to stand on end. Okay, stop, said Harry. Stop! Stop! I need a whistle, he thought, and immediately spotted one lying on the top of the nearest row of books. He caught it up and blew hard. Everyone lowered their wands. That wasn't bad, said Harry, but there's definitely room for improvement. Zacharias Smith glared at him. Let's try again. He moved off around in the room again, stopping here and there to make suggestions. Slowly, the general performance improved. He avoided going near Cho and her friend for a while, but after walking twice around every other pair in the room, he felt he could not ignore them any longer. Oh no, said Cho rather wildly as he approached. Expelliarmus! Expellimarius! Oh, sorry, Martina. Her curly-haired friend's sleeve had caught fire. Martina extinguished it with her own wand and glared at Harry, as though it was his own fault. It made me nervous. I was doing all right before then, Cho told Harry ruefully. That was, quite good, Harry lied, but when she raised her eye... End of page 394. Turn to page 394. Romilda? He repeated. Did you say Romilda? Harry, do you know her? Can you introduce me? Harry stared at the dangling Ron, whose face now looked tremendously hopeful, and felt a strong desire to laugh. A part of him, the part closest to his throbbing right ear, was quite keen on the idea of letting Ron down and watching him run amok until the effects of the potion wore off. But, on the other hand, they were supposed to be friends, and Ron had not been himself when he had attacked, and Harry thought that he would deserve another punching if he permitted Ron to declare undying love to Romilda Vane. Yeah, I'll introduce you, said Harry, thinking fast. I'm gonna let you down now, okay? He sent Ron crashing back to the floor. His ear did hurt quite a lot, but Ron simply bounced to his feet again, grinning. She'll be in Slughorn's office, he said confidently, leading the way to the door. Why will she be there? Asked Ron anxiously, hurrying to keep up. Oh, she has extra potions lessons with him, said Harry, inventing wildly. Maybe I could ask if I could have them with her, said Ron eagerly. Great idea, said Harry. Lavender was waiting beside the portrait hole, a complication Harry had not foreseen. You're late, Won-Won, she pouted. I've got a birthday. Leave me alone, said Ron impatiently. Harry's going to introduce me to Romilda Vane. End of page 394. I said turn to page 394. Exalphus Lovegood, Luna's father? I want to go talk to him. Why? She took a deep breath, so bracing herself, and said, It's that mark. The mark in Beetle in the Bard. Look at this. She thrust the life and lies of Albus Dumbledore under Harry's unwilling eyes, and he saw a photograph of the original letter that Dumbledore had written to Grindelwald. With Dumbledore's familiar thin, slanting handwriting, he hesitated, seeing absolute proof that Dumbledore had really written those words, that they had not been Rita's invention. The signatures, said Hermione. Look at the signatures, Harry. Harry obeyed. For a moment he had no idea what she was talking about, but looking more closely, with the aid of his lit wand, he saw that Dumbledore had replaced the A of Albus with a tiny version of that same triangular mark inscribed upon the tails of Beetle and the Bard. What are you? Said Ron tentatively, but Hermione quelled him with a look and turned back to Harry. It keeps cropping up, doesn't it? She says. I know Victor said it was Grindelwald's mark, but it's definitely on that old grave in Godric's Hollow, and the dates on the headstones were long before Grindelwald came along. And now this. Well, we can't ask Dumbledore, or Grindelwald what it means. I don't even know whether Grindelwald is still alive. But we can ask Mr. Lovegood. He was wearing the symbol at the wedding. I'm sure this is important, Harry. Harry did not answer immediately. He looked at her tense, eager face, and then out into the surrounding darkness, thickening. End of page 394. Well, there we have it, everyone. Page 394 of every Harry Potter book. What did you think? Were you surprised by what page 394 was? And, of course, it's different per volume. This is the Scholastic American version, so let me know what your version of Harry Potter has on page 394. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all later. Bye! Boop. Mischief managed. Knox.